Okay, so I moved the placement of the camera. Hopefully this will work a little better. All right, so we're gonna go over content analysis and choice analysis in this video, but I wanted to start with a little bit of kind of background about your paper. So the social policy analysis that you're getting ready to start is gonna feel repetitive. All of these analyses and different types of analyses were not necessarily intended to be used all together in one paper. So just keep that in mind as you're writing, that you're probably going to talk about some of these things in content analysis, for example, again later in your paper. You're definitely going to talk about some of the choice analysis pieces later in your paper. But it's a different sort of take on how you're looking at the policy, and some are more in depth, some are less in depth. So it's okay if it feels repetitive. It's okay if it feels like it's you're saying the same thing twice, maybe even 3 times. That's all okay as long as you're following what each policy is requiring, or what each analysis is requiring you to do with the policy, then you're going to be fine. So let's start with content. So content analysis is going to be one of your easiest ones. It should only take a page, page and a half max of your paper. The first thing you're going to do is connect these top ones. So what's the intention of the policy? So let's say, for example, we're looking at the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act's intention is to get more people insured. What's the definition of the problem? The definition of the problem is that people need insurance in order to take care of their healthcare needs. Who defined it? And how it was defined? You can talk a little bit about that here, but don't get too in depth right here, because this is either your social or your political analysis right here. Okay? So don't get too in depth, but you need to mention it. You need to talk about it. Then next are the goals and how they get achieved. So goals, remember, are more specific than the intention. Okay? So the goals have specificity to them. So the intention is to get more people on insurance, going back to our ACA example. The goal, specific goal, might be we're going to insure 2 million more people, or whatever the goal was. And then you have to talk about how that goal is going to be achieved. How's it going to be implemented? Is it going to be federally run? Is it going to be state run? Is it going to be federally funded and state run? How's it going to work? Okay, so again, these are a little more specific, but all of this is going to be talked about in more depth throughout your paper later on. So this is sort of the overview, if you will. I like to start with content because it's sort of your overview of like, okay, overview, here's where we're starting. Here's what policy we're going to cover, here's what it's intended to do, here's what the problem is, how it was defined, here are the specific goals of it, and here's how those goals are going to get achieved. Boom, done. All right, so let's move into choice. I'm going to walk over this way. This one tends to get a little more tricky. Choice has these 4 sections of analysis: bases of allocation, types of benefits, delivery structure, and financing benefits. Now you'll notice in some of these, you're going to talk about this again later in your paper. So this should also be a page, page and a half. A lot of times students write 1 paragraph on each topic, and it makes it clean and easy. If you do not have all 4 of these areas in your choice analysis, then you are not doing a choice analysis. You must have all 4 of these in your analysis for you to get full points for this section. It's important. This is what a choice analysis is. It's sort of an odd named analysis, but this is so this would be used in a briefer setting. So again, we're smashing all of these things together in one big paper, but this would be like maybe a 1 or 2 page quick analysis of a policy that you wanted to do, because it covers all of the major areas of what you're looking at when you're looking at a policy. All right, excuse me. So let's talk about what they are. So the basis of allocation, I'm going to get a different color pen so it's a little darker, is the who. Okay? Basis of allocation is the who. Who is going to benefit from the policy? There are two possibilities under this. Universal or selective. In your choice analysis, you have to tell me which one it is. So let's look at an example of what that means. So a universal basis of allocation. So let's say we're talking about Social Security benefits, okay? Social Security benefits, who do they cover? They cover people who are disabled and people who are elderly over a certain age, 67 now. So is that universal or is that selective? That's universal. Once you get to that age, you get Social Security. It's selective. Selective would be more like, let's say something economic, food stamps, SNAP, okay? So this would be Social Security, SSA, and this would be SNAP, okay? So in order to get food assistance, you have to meet certain requirements, right? You have to have income under a certain level, a certain number of people living in your home, those kinds of pieces, right? Maybe you have to be eligible for Medicaid in a state in order to get SNAP, because each state regulates that on their own. And so that's selective. Not everybody's eligible just because they say they are, because they've hit a certain age, or because they, whatever. It's selective. You have to meet certain criteria in order to have this benefit, okay? So that is the difference between universal and selective, and that covers the basis of allocation. Who is going to benefit from this policy, and is it a universal policy or is it a selective policy, okay? If you're not sure which one it is, go back to your book. Your book talks about this very specifically. But if you think it's universal and you're looking at it and you're like, yep, everybody benefits, make your argument. If you think it's selective, you're like, yep, there's a criteria, tell me why, make your argument, okay? I may disagree with it, but if you have a decent argument, you're not going to get points off, all right? Okay, next thing, types of benefits. So for this one, we need to know, is it in cash or is it in kind? Okay, pretty obvious. In cash is a cash benefit, right? You get money. So this is, SSI, SSDI, SSA, any of those kind of income-based programs, you're getting money for that. Okay, you get a certain amount of income from those things. In kind is you go to a food bank and you bring home a bag full of groceries, or you go to a clothing bank and you bring home a bag full of clothing. That's in kind. So is your benefit in cash or is it in kind? If it's not tangible, if the benefit is, for example, DACA, they get to stay in the country and they get to work, that would be in kind. Okay, makes sense? In cash is literally only in cash. Everything else is going to fall under here. Okay, but you got to tell me again which one it is. Is it in cash or in kind for the type of benefits that they're going to get? And so this one is the what. Okay, so the next one is delivery structure. This one is the how. How are they going to get it? Do they have to sign up? Do they have to go into an office? Do they have to, does it just happen automatically? How do they get the benefit? And the other piece of this one is who's delivering it. So is it a government? Is it a nonprofit? Is it an agency? So where do they have to go? How do they get the service or the benefit of what the policy is providing? How is it structured, right? How is the delivery part of the benefit structured? Okay, that's the last one, financing benefits. The financing benefits is exactly what it sounds like. This is not, however, the beginning of your economic analysis. This is telling me how it's going to get paid for. Okay, is it taxes? Is it donations? Is it fees? How does it get covered? Who's paying for it and how? Okay? If you have any questions about any of these, please email me or set up a time to talk by phone, whichever's easiest. But it's important with your choice analysis that you have all four of these discussed very clearly, and that you are telling me under each one, which thing, how it's going to be done. Okay? All of this choice analysis is super structured, and so you got to follow that structure. You got to follow what you're doing, what is required in this choice analysis in order for it to count. Okay, again, if you have any questions, let me know. So this is choice and content. One last piece that I want to go over before this video is done. I want to make sure when you're talking about content, stepped out of the camera. You need really clear, very good resources for this one. So be careful about what you use. There should never be anything like Wikipedia, because Wikipedia can be changed by anybody at any time, so that is not a reliable source of information. So please don't use that on this paper or any paper really. Don't use that. But my suggestion is to start with the Green Book. Now I'm going to be putting up a PowerPoint that has these things outlined in it, not as specifically, and there's no audio, which is why I'm doing this part. The Green Book is the Ways and Means Committee from the House of Representatives. That's their Green Book. I've put a link in the PowerPoint that's going to be going up. And that is a good place to start with what your policy is. Every policy is in there. So if it's federal, okay? Now, if you're looking at a state one, then I would suggest going to this Colorado State government website and looking at the policy in there, because they're going to have it not quite as detailed, but still some good information there. So you want to start with very legitimate government-based places that you're looking at your policy, and then you can look at maybe other articles or things like that, but that's going to help you really get to these content pieces. Okay, so that's it for content and choice.